All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I mess up my intro here, we are on our way to go and see Batman the Animated, the Batman. We're here in the car waiting to get across the street.
And I've had a couple of drinks.
I have not had a couple of drinks. Don't listen to that man behind the curtain. So we are going to be going to see the movie, and I'm very excited to have this happen. And I will let you know what we think. Michael, do you have any thoughts?
I think it's gonna be brutal.
Very good. Reese, do you have any thoughts?
I just recorded the beginning of my video. My thoughts will upset people. I think this is an Iron
Go
Man.
fast. I don't have a whole lot of
Iron Man
battery.
2008 situation for DC.
I hope
I've been reading.
I hope that Teresa is correct with her evaluation here. All right, I will let you guys know what we think as we move along with the evening.
We're right behind a Miss Me Yet Trump car. We were just behind a Biden-Harris car. I thought, are you real happy with these gas prices? $5 an hour? What's wrong with these people in California?
Look at my outfit.
Check it.
I got it. I'm styling.
Batman balloons.
Batman balloons. Wow.
All right, we're on our way in. We're all the way in the back. That'll be interesting.
Wow.
Dad's very excited to see Batman. Have you seen any of the Batmans in theaters before?
No, this is my first experience of the Bat and the Cat.
I have never seen any Batman movies in the theater before, so this is going to be interesting. Here we go.
But there's a big giant dent in it.
Finally in here. We had to hide outside because Dad and I walked in and
They were flashed.
it was a movie. I don't know what the movie was, but it was
Jack A Forever. That's what it is.
okay. It involved two nude men jumping rope together. So I don't recommend that. Anyway, very exciting experience, and we're now in the theater. Nobody is here. This is amazing.
I hear a Batman movie going on in the next one, and there's a lot of cars here. We probably just got one that there's not a lot of people at.
Yeah, I guess not a lot of people are coming to 5 p.m., so that's where we're at. So I'm going to go get a TikTok or an Instagram in front of the poster and go to the bathroom. I know you all really wanted to hear that part. So I will talk to you guys in a minute. Here seeing Batman a second time before I give you my final review on YouTube. I just have to say I am amped, I'm crazy, I'm excited. The first round I can't even get over, and that's why I'm here the second time. So we got the whole theater to ourselves once again. It is, well, it's one of the benefits of living in the middle of nowhere. It's nobody goes to the theater. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I have to say, I just got back from the Batman for the second time, and I'm going crazy. There's hardly any words for me at this point, because this is the best Batman movie I have ever seen, and let me explain why that is. This movie is actually about Batman. Everybody raves about the Dark Knight trilogy, and particularly the Dark Knight movie, because that movie is kind of what is considered the cream of the crop, the best Batman movie you could ever see. However, I would beg to differ here, because that movie is great and is renowned because of Heath Ledger's Joker. That movie is a masterpiece in what a Batman villain can be, and there will never be another Heath Ledger's Joker. I hope that there will be another Joker, another version of Joker, because there are already two versions of Joker that I consider top level Jokers: Mark Hamill's cartoon version and Heath Ledger's live action version. So that's not to say that there can never be another Joker, but there will never be another Heath Ledger Joker. So my point here in saying this is, that movie is not considered great because it's such a great version of Batman himself. Batman really was carried along by the Joker. The Joker was the lead in that movie. On the flip side, this movie, The Batman, the most recent iteration of Batman, is actually about Batman. This is the first time I felt like Batman has actually been the starring role in the movie. And that's why I love it so much. I came there for Batman, and both in the first viewing and the second viewing, I have to say, it feels like a Batman movie. It's not just, and that's not to say that they didn't bring it with the villain. The villain is incredible, and I'll get to that in a second, but the Batman was the main character, and he felt like the main character, and you believed he was the character, and it was the first time that I really felt, somebody on Twitter actually mentioned this, that this is the most like the animated series that a live action Batman has ever been, and I totally agree with that. I went into it thinking, wow, if people are saying that, it must be really good. And I was not disappointed. There are scenes, and here's where the spoilers come in. Okay, so if you don't want to see spoilers, you better get out of here right now. 3, 2, 1, here come the spoilers, and boom. Okay, so there's so much that I could talk about, but there's a scene, I will just say the crowning moment for me, the most fantastic, utterly beautiful moment for me was, I'll get to that in a second. Let's break it down from the beginning. The beginning, it's basically a detective mystery story, which is what Batman is supposed to be, a brutal detective mystery story. And we open it up, and the first scene that Batman is in is he's beating up these mobsters who are hating on this Asian guy in like a subway train stop or whatever. And that just, you feel afraid in that moment. You feel afraid of Batman, and that's what you're supposed to feel. He's not supposed to be necessarily, you know, the nice, friendly hero type, especially to bad guys. And so that is the first taste we get of this real, gritty, dark Batman. And I love that. And he's brutal. It is very much like Daredevil. Daredevil is actually based off of Batman, and they actually got it right in this movie that Batman is very, very brutal. And so I love that. But then moving on, it's very much kind of a detective mystery story. You're having to figure out the clues and all this stuff. And I love that. I love how dark, like super, it makes the Dark Knight trilogy look like it was shot on Hawaii. Like, it's so much darker. It's so much of it is shot at night, which is great, or like dusk or early morning. Like, I'm hard pressed to, I think there's a funeral scene or memorial scene that I think was in the daytime, but it was overcast and clouded over. That might have been one of the only daytime scenes that we saw. But I want to talk about my favorite, like the crowning moment of the movie. It's about halfway through. Batman just like busted up a drug deal, and Penguin was a part of it, and he's trying to get away from Batman. So he gets in his car and he's driving away to get away from Batman. And Batman comes out with the Batmobile and is chasing him. And it's kind of almost become a trope now with Marvel movies, because they have to have this epic car chase scene, because they had one of the best car chase scenes possibly in cinematic history in The Winter Soldier, and ever since then they've been trying to recreate that and make it more crazy and more ridiculous, and that's just what it's been, more crazy and more ridiculous, and not with the impact that original car chase scene had. So now DC comes in and says, hang on, babe. Let me show you what a real car chase scene looks like. So it was all at night, and this is one of the things that I loved about this movie and the way it was shot. They actually make it hard to see. So when you're looking through Batman's eyes in the very beginning, it opens up and you're looking through Batman's eyes, and he's focusing and you're having to struggle to focus because it's shot so that it's kind of blurry in certain spots. And so in this car chase scene, it's at night, so it's dark and it's hard to see. And also you're dealing with, it's raining in some spots, and so your vision is clouded for that reason. And when Penguin is like shooting at Batman, and the glass is covering, is getting hit, and it's cracking, but it's not shattering, and so you can't see through the glass, and so that's all you see. I love that kind of, that's like practical realism that I really, really appreciated. But this is the best part of the movie. So Penguin is trying to get away from this maniac Batman. He's so terrified of, and you're terrified of Batman at this point, and he's trying to get around, and we've all been there on the freeway when there's a truck that's in the way and you can't get around the truck. And so finally, after all this time of trying to get away from this truck, he just rams the back of this big rig, and the truck starts to crash, and the cars are crashing around him, and he gets around the truck, and he's getting away from the truck, and he gets to the other side, and the truck explodes in this big ball of fire. And he thinks that he's gotten rid of Batman, and he's screaming, and he's like, yeah, I got you, I got you. And we saw that moment in the trailer. And then what you don't see in the trailer is the next spot where the Batmobile jumped the truck, the big rig, on fire, and through the fire comes flaming out and lands on the other side. He rams into Penguin's car. The car flips over multiple times. Penguin should be dead, but this is a comic book movie, so whatever. He's upside down and staring out at Batman getting out of the Batmobile with flames behind him, walking, and all it is his black silhouette with the fire behind him, walking up and then bending over the car to look in at him. That was the best scene, the best Batman-centric scene I have ever seen in a Batman movie. Beautiful. And it's just the fire obviously being yellow and then Batman being black, the black silhouette was just the perfect aesthetic for this movie. It makes me, like, I was smiling today in the theater while I was watching this thing. It was so good. I'm smiling now because I love that scene. That was my favorite scene. Let me now that I've talked about a lot of the things I loved about the movie, because honestly, I liked it better the second time just because I was able to understand it better. There's a lot to digest and a lot to take in, but I have to say a couple of things that I thought were flawed was, initially I thought the movie was a little too long. On the second watch, it doesn't feel as long because you're struggling less to understand what's going on. And you kind of know, okay, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. So now I have an idea. I can pinpoint where I'm at in the movie and how much longer it's going to be. So I didn't feel the movie fatigue that I felt the first time, when it's 3 hours, nearly 3 hours long. So that was nice that I didn't feel that the second time. That was actually one of my few complaints. But one of my other complaints is Catwoman. Now, I want to make it clear to people, Catwoman's character is basically a socialist. So her having this grudge against, the wealthy, rich type, is indicative of her character. Catwoman also is an anti-hero, and she steals from people. She's almost kind of like a Robin Hood-esque character. However, I felt like the criticism I have for the movie is I felt like they made her a little too soft. I felt like she got into it with Batman a little too soon, and not like if she had gotten into it with Batman, and by that I mean like she joins forces with him immediately, instead of like him having to kind of woo her into doing it, shall we say. As Teresa, my sister, who you've seen on these channels or in these videos before, has said, Catwoman is supposed to behave like a cat, standoffish, extremely affectionate when she wants to be, but standoffish, and you really have to kind of let them come to you on their terms. And that's kind of how she is portrayed through a lot of the movie, rather that's the opposite of how she's portrayed. Immediately she gets into it with Batman. She's instead of like manipulating him or whatever, she allows him to kind of almost big brother her through the first part of the movie. I don't know. It's just a little, it was just a little bit different than I was expecting, and so that was a little bit disappointing. And then here's a complaint that I have, not about the movie. Well, let me finish my Catwoman thought. My Catwoman thought is just that I feel like she could be a little bit more aloof. She could be a little bit more, shall we say, independent. She doesn't need Batman. Batman needs her. That's kind of the way that the dynamic, that as I understand it, has been. And that's not to say there's also episodes of the animated series where she believes that she doesn't need Batman, and then he's actually had to come in and take care of her in other instances. So there is that dynamic, but in this instance, it's almost like she embraces the fact that she needs Batman. But that's not really the way the traditional relationship as I understand it is supposed to go. So again, comment below if you guys disagree with me on my take on Catwoman, which is partially based on things that my sister has told me. And, I've read, I think one Catwoman comic book and watched all of the animated series. So that is where my understanding of Catwoman, the character, comes from. I've also seen, obviously, the Dark Knight trilogy, in which she was a player. And I think I've seen a little bit of like the 60s Catwoman from that version as well. So I'm not a Catwoman expert, but I will just say that is my take on the character. I did enjoy, though, how I loved her look. Her costumes were great. I loved how she kept changing wigs and changing kind of who she was based on what was needed in the given scenario. So now I've finished my Catwoman talk, and the only other thing I wanted to mention is just for those of you who, first of all, have not seen the movie and are already complaining about it. I was going to say something mean, but I'm not going to say that. Don't criticize something you haven't watched, okay? Especially when there are people who are hard to please. I would consider myself fairly hard to please when it comes to these things. Now, that's not to say I don't like things like Marvel movies and such, but I watch Marvel movies knowing the flaws and just getting the enjoyment out of it anyway. I would consider myself pretty hard to please on these things, and I loved this movie. So I just want to caution those of you who have not seen the movie, please don't criticize other people who liked it, who saw it, until you've actually seen it. I think that that's really unfair for people to go on Twitter and talk about how much they hate the movie when they haven't watched it. I also want to caution people, there is some race bending in this movie. They switch races on Jim Gordon, for example. I don't care about that, quite frankly. The guy they got to play Jim Gordon, Jeffrey something or other, is one of my, I loved him in Hunger Games. He was fantastic. I think he's a phenomenal actor. And I think that it's really, it's a bad look for people to complain, oh, they changed his race, so now I'm going to throw the whole thing out. If changing his race doesn't actually change his character, I don't really care. There have been versions of Catwoman where she's black. As long as it doesn't change the character, it really doesn't bother me. The only Catwoman aesthetic I don't like is when she's blonde, which, is just a personal preference. But it doesn't change the character at all. But in the case of Jim Gordon, I thought the actor was fantastic. Top tier Jim Gordon actor, as far as I'm concerned. I was actually ecstatic. I didn't realize who was playing him until the first scene he was in the movie. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's playing him? And he was so good. And he even sounds similar to the guy they got in The Dark Knight, especially in the beginning. I thought he was phenomenal. Catwoman, again, has had multiple iterations of her. I don't think, I thought that her aesthetic looked good. I thought she was fine. I enjoyed her costumes. So I just want to caution people, don't throw it out just because they made some changes here and there. The changes actually enhance the story and enhance the aesthetic. The issue that I have when there's race changing is when the race or the look of the person is very specific. So, for example, I had a problem with what they did with Mary Jane in the current iteration of the Spider-Man movies, because Mary Jane is supposed to have red hair. Now, if in the future they have Zendaya dye her hair red or whatever, and then that fits in with the character better, then that's one thing. That would help to appease that issue. But that's an integral character trait, and that makes a change to a very, very classic character that I didn't appreciate. Another example will be in the Fantastic Four. They did a remake of the Fantastic Four. I think it was in 2015 or something, and they made Human Torch black, and they made Invisible Woman white. And that bothered me because they're supposed to be biological siblings. That's an example of when you change the race and it actually changes an integral part of a character trait or a character arc and their relationships with other characters. And I mean, it just doesn't work that way. Science doesn't work that way. And I know that we don't care about science anymore, but two white parents can't have a white daughter and a black son. It just doesn't work like that. That's not how science works. So that's an example of when changing somebody's race does actually impact the characters, and when I would really appreciate it if you just stick to the classic characters. But in the cases that I'm talking about, all of this is fantastic. I loved who they got for all of these characters. I just think Robert Pattinson is such a solid Batman. I think he leaves something to be desired on the Bruce Wayne element, and I think in future movies maybe we'll see a more Bruce Wayne, a more like schmoozy, persona of Bruce Wayne. He's definitely the emo Batman in this version. But he's just so solid. He really commands the screen. You want to see what's happening to him and what's going on with him. And he's so memeable, you guys. This is the guy that I used to go to high school with, who, had long hair covered over his face and was listening to screamo music, and he was so cool. I really thought that was cool back when I was in high school, but never mind that. Yeah, so that's all I'm saying about, I just think that this was such a great iteration of Batman. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to complain to me in the comment sections about what they didn't like and all that good stuff. And that's fine. You don't have to like it. I just get tired. I had a lot of people writing to me on Twitter saying, I hated it, but I didn't even go and see it. You hated it, but you didn't go see it. So how do you know you hate it? You just know that you hate the marketing and you hate the media line from certain media outlets about it. And that just really frustrates me. Don't hate something just for the sake of being countercultural. Don't hate something for the sake of hating it. Okay, so my camera died. My phone was overfilled with videos because that's just what happens. So I just wanted to wrap this up with my final thoughts on the Riddler. Oh my gosh, what a phenomenal performance of the Riddler. I loved that they did take kind of the Heath Ledger Joker approach to the Riddler, but they didn't try to carbon copy it. They made him crazy and weird and nerdy, but really dark and scary in the beginning, and then you find out he's just this kind of creep that's insecure with himself and whatever. Anyway, they made him his own character. He's not the Joker, but they made him in kind of the Heath Ledger style. And so I appreciate that what Heath Ledger was trying to do with the Joker character, they're now actually taking and applying what he tried to do with that character to the other Batman characters. And so I really appreciated that. I loved how clever all of the different points were in the even just down to he's leaving, I don't know what kind of cards they're called. They're like the little card. They're not birthday cards, but they're like the little thank you cards that you might leave for somebody, and they've got like a little riddle inside. I really appreciated just the little details like that, and leaving one of the cards was inside a cage with a bat in it instead of a rat cage and whatever. So there's just all these little things like the thumb drive, when he literally cuts the guy's thumb off and you have to use the thumb to log into the computer with the thumb drive and all that stuff. Like very dark and sordid, but very clever and interesting ways of handling and dealing with that subject matter. So I really appreciated that. I've just really enjoyed the entire movie. I almost want to go and see it a third time now. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys didn't like the video, feel free to still leave a comment. But like I said, I don't want to hear it if you haven't seen the movie, okay? So if you went and saw the movie and you didn't like it, feel free to leave a comment. If you didn't see the movie and you just want to hate on it because you feel like, oh, that makes me cool because I didn't go see it because I'm countercultural and that makes me cool. That I don't want to hear that. So anyway, that's all I got to say about this movie. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to get notifications, and comment below what you guys thought of the movie, and I will talk to you guys on the next video.